Something new I thought I'd add to my podcast is a little video in my show notes page to kind of help describe some of the things that you might see in there. Now, I hope you like this and I hope it's valuable because I'm thinking about doing this going forward. So let me know what you think. Just a quick comment would be great. So anyway, in this podcast, I'm talking about the Wedway People Mover. The WED designers, named WED for Walter Elias Disney, WED, these are the original Imagineers. These are the people who were working for him on a lot of the technical things and making things happen and coming up with the designs for a lot of the physical objects that you see. So they came up with this idea for the car, and the car is pulled along the track by a series of magnets. And it's using linear induction motors to make it work. Now, what are linear induction motors? I'll put a link down below to the wiki page on what linear induction motors are. But I wanted to show you a quick video, so I found this one on the web. It's not mine, but I'll put a link to it so you can see who the person who created it. But the idea is very simple. It's a series of magnets that lay out, and you're putting a little electricity to it, in this case a battery, where you connect it up, and as it rolls, as the magnets go, it actually will roll something along, pull a piece of metal along across the magnets, and if you reverse the polarity, they'll go the other way. So you can actually stop it by turning off the electricity to it, essentially. So if you think about it on a broader scale, if each one of them is individually powered, you could adjust the amount of energy it's getting so it can go it can pull a little harder or a little softer, go faster, slower, those kinds of things. It's very cool. It's a really cool piece of technology, and it's worth investing a couple of minutes in your time to understand because it's just so cool. Now, as far as the magnets or the motors themselves in the track, there are 629 of them in the track, and the track is about 5,500 feet long. So they're about every 8 feet or so. So they can control the pace of the cars very consistently by turning them on and off. And there's some number of them that cannot be working, and the ride will continue to work. It's an amazing thing, just the way that works, because it's just pushing them along between these magnetic places. So very cool. So the technology is very straightforward, and it's really pretty neat the way they did it, and I think it's worth spending a couple of minutes on. Now, as far as the Wedway track itself, the track leaves from the Rocket Tower Plaza, and this arrow points to where it is that you enter, so you can kind of see how you go up the ramp. Then when you get to the end of the ramp, the actual ride goes around through all of Tomorrowland. So you head around in this direction where you're going around through the various attractions, various parts. So you start off on heading out and going around part of Tomorrowland, then going over to Space Mountain, then coming back around and finishing off before you come back to the Rocket Tower Plaza. So you get to see pretty much all of Tomorrowland when you make the route around. It's very clever the way they did this. Now, the other thing is, as you go along, you see that this was called the Blue Line at some point, and they had this idea for creating different lines that you would go to different places. So you can still see the signage that says like Green Line, and there's another place where it says Red Line, and the idea was to create a concept that you could go other places beyond just Tomorrowland. It would sort of be an off-world sort of experience, so it's more than just Tomorrowland. So it's kind of a clever thing that they came up with. Thematically, I thought it was pretty neat. I talked about the Goodyear speed ramp too. The Goodyear speed ramp, you can see here as you're going up the ramp, this is how you get up to the People Mover. So this is the original concept that Goodyear came up with, and really this is the same device that's been there since 1971 when the park opened. Well, excuse me, since 1975 when this attraction opened. But it's still pretty amazing that it's there and it's still running. The other example, as I mentioned, was over in the Pirates of the Caribbean, where you can take the speed ramp up from where you leave the Pirates to go back up to the Pirates Arcade, where there's the shop up there.
The face has spoken and guided you well. The loves on the stormy sea.
So it's kind of interesting the way they laid that out. Now on the track, you do pass by what was the original part of the original model of Epcot. So this is what it looks like when you go past it. So keep an eye out for that if you've never really paid attention to it. This is part of the original model that Walt Disney had when he created his Progress Land, his Progress City. It's kind of cool that it's still there and on display for us. Now, also keep in mind that this is like maybe a third of the entire model, so you get a sense of how big the entire model was, just how complex he thought this whole design through. It's really amazing when you stop and think about it. I also talked about going through the attraction and winding up going through if you had wings. Now they designed it specifically so that you could see down into the vista, so it made sense. So when you look at this video, you can see that you can go through and actually see what it looks like when you're going through if you had wings. So you could actually get the sense of it before you would go on the attraction, or at least it felt like you got a sense of it. It's kind of interesting that that's the way the People Mover looked, and it still looks mostly the same. It's just this view into there isn't the same because they've changed all the perspectives, and they put up some walls and some panels so you can't see into the whole attraction. And what you do see into Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, it's just okay. There's nothing really spectacular about it. So that's the way they designed it. And of course, it takes you into Space Mountain. Now going into Space Mountain, there's not much to see. They've dimmed the lights in Space Mountain considerably over the years, so it's really, you're not seeing very much anymore. You just kind of hear the screams that are going on. You can kind of see some of the moons and so forth that are overhead, you know, stars and whatever that are going by. But that's about all you see. And once in a while you can hear the train go by, one of the cars go by, and you can see maybe a little flash of like reflective surface, but that's about it. Much more interesting is when you get lucky enough to happen to go through when the lights are on. You can actually see the whole roller coaster and get a sense of the scale of it and what the actual building looks like. So this is what it looks like when you roll through and the lights happen to be on. I also talked about the People Mover, essentially, that exists at Houston's Intercontinental Airport. Now, this is a quick video that someone took of that particular train as it's going through. It's from a few years ago. You know, I've been to Houston's Intercontinental Airport and I remember taking the train there, but I don't remember it looking like this exactly. Maybe it was a different train that I took. I can't remember. And had I known that it was the People Mover and it was the Disney Imagineers who designed it, I would have spent a lot more time riding it back and forth just because that's the person I am. But I do sort of remember it, so I think I did ride on it, and well, there's that, I guess. So this is kind of interesting that this worked out this way. And this is the only time that we know of that the Disney Imagineers, the WED designers, went out and installed a real-world application of the People Mover somewhere else. I think there were other inquiries, but as far as I know, it never happened that they put them out there. And that's my look at the Wedway People Mover. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Just let me know what you think.